When College Football 25 drops, the release will be streamlined and mostly digital. Folks who pay extra can enjoy early access. Stores still selling those hard copies will know the exact time and date they can hit shelves. In other words, it will go mostly as expected and everyone knows what to expect. It'll be the exact opposite of what we saw with NCAA Football 2006, in which an unexpected early release from a now-defunct big box computer store sent the sports gaming world into a tizzy. It was the wildest of wild goose chases for many, including myself, that would pay huge dividends for a lucky, select few who happen to be in the right place at the right time. I am Cheyenne Hollis, this is the Touchback, and let's go back in time to remember the absolutely ridiculous release of NCAA Football 2006.
EA Sports, Little Brown Jug, it's in the game.
NCAA Football 2006.
EA Sports, it's in the game.
Boy almighty, do those old EA Sports intros hit differently. Screw it, let's watch another.
EA Sports is in the game!
EA Sports, it's in the game!
And that's another Cougar first down!
NCAA Football 2006.
Good times when EA Sports actually cared about the games they would release, and you would have to care to fly up a film crew to Pullman, Washington to film those intros. Let's not get sidetracked on that, shall we? The NCAA football series has always been beloved by fans. However, the 2006 edition promised to be something different in the series. The buzz around it was really unlike anything ever seen before. Not just because the game was promising a huge new game mode, Road to the Heisman, that was going to add a whole new wrinkle to the NCAA football franchise, but because we were at a time when there was a proliferation of internet coverage of video games and the growing popularity of forums. This meant we had a treasure trove of information about upcoming releases of video games. I'm not saying it didn't exist up until this point in time, but really 2005, 2006, 2007 is when everything starts coming together as far as the internet and video games and all of that stuff. Those used to waiting for Electronic Gaming Monthly to come out finally had all of the news and notes in between issues. It wasn't just game details and screenshots. People could share stuff like cheat codes, the progress they were making on their dynasties, franchise modes, etc. There was even the ability to share with people nationwide other goings on, things like an accidental early release in a certain city. That brings us to July 2005 and a bookmark to a thread on the Operation Sports forums that I have managed to keep with me for 19 years and countless computers later. Copy and paste your bookmarks in an email and then send it to yourself in order to not lose valuable information like this. Okay, maybe valuable isn't the right word here. Anyway, the original thread on the OS forum was to serve as an update on who had received their copy of NCAA Football 2006. These days it acts as a reminder, documentation if you will, of the game's early bungled release that could have otherwise been forgotten. While there were other forums at the time that had topics and posts on this subject, they have long since been lost. Mad Mania is gone, the EA Sports wiped their forums clean, so really the OS forum here is the last man standing when it comes to the NCAA Football 2006 early release craze. Before we hop into that, I do want to note something. As I was putting together my script and my thoughts on this topic, someone over at Operation Sports, Chase Picote, wrote an article on this very launch as well. He talks a little bit about why this was a big deal, and I'll put a link to that in the video description below. With that out of the way, we start our story with Comp USA. You might remember them as the computer big box brand that, quite frankly, was already on the decline by 2005. In an attempt to keep up with Best Buy, they started offering random odds and ends such as PS2 games, Xbox games, TVs, and for whatever reason, all sport. That being said, it wasn't anyone's first, second, or 15th choice to buy video games at. In fact, you would have to have a very, very specific reason to even think about going there to purchase a video game. A reason such as saying the store accidentally releasing a game 10 days before it was supposed to be sold. NCAA Football 2006 was scheduled to be released on July 12th, 2005. On July 2nd, someone at the Operation Sports forum created a Who's Got the Game thread after other posters on other forums had mentioned they had found copies at CompUSA. The first post mentions how CompUSA.com says the game is available and ready to ship. And then one post later, someone in Cincinnati, Ohio says they were able to buy the game at their local CompUSA store. Roughly an hour or so later, the website status had been shown from the game being available to coming soon. But the NCAA football loving community was off to the races. Within 6 hours of this thread going live, there are 160 posts on it, most of which simply stating something along the lines of, did anyone get it in insert city here? There was also some pretty wild speculation that the game would be released early because of CompUSA's mistake, along with a few of the classics, I know a guy who knows the store general manager type who gave me these weird details that sound realistic but are probably totally false. Someone even goes on to say Electronics Boutique was given permission to sell NCAA Football 06 early at midnight on the 4th of July. Of course, none of these posts have any proof to back them up, but this is 2005 we're talking about, and the internet is still a somewhat trustworthy place. The next 2 days and basically nothing happened. No one found the game, the situation seemed to have calmed down. Well, apart from some of your classic mid-2000s form flaming, which was on full display at certain parts of this thread. July 6, 2005 is where I enter the picture here. I went back, I read like all 250 pages, all 2,000 plus comments, of which 95% said they didn't find the game anywhere. 2% said they did get a copy of the game, but no one had managed to do that since July 2nd, and 3% were just simply lying about one thing or the other. After reading all of that, after going through this massive thread, I said to myself, you know what? I need to get down to CompUSA in Sacramento and see if they have a copy of NCAA Football 2006. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why that is what came to my mind after reading all of those posts in which everyone said they couldn't find a copy of the game. And look, if I'm being completely honest with you, 2005, not exactly a thriving moment in my lifetime. I was basically spinning my wheels, taking some summer courses at American River College, and when I wasn't doing that, working over at Pete's Coffee and Tea. Quite frankly, I kind of enjoyed that time of my life, even though I wasn't doing much of anything. More importantly, it meant I had the time to go to CompUSA and see if, for whatever reason, against all odds, they were one of the select few that had put out NCAA Football 2006 early. There were 2 stores in the Sacramento region, one off of Alta Arden and another one out in Roseville. On the first day, I visited both and neither had it. On day 2, I simply went to the one on Alta Arden and again left empty-handed. Day 3, and it was to Roseville where no game awaited me, and just for the hell of it, I went back to Alta Arden for one last time on July 10th and was not rewarded for my persistence. You're probably wondering why I would keep going back after not finding it on that first day or that second day. So here's the deal. It seemed like every time I was about to give up on my quest to find a copy of NCAA Football 2006 early, someone on the OS forum would post that they got it, they found it somewhere. Sometimes it was a Target, sometimes it was a Toys R Us. I kept going back to CompUSA since that was seemingly the place where the most copies had been released early. A very, very limited number of people were able to get their hands on a copy of the game before the official release date. For most of us though, for people like me, we just drove around aimlessly, making phone calls to stores, angering employees, and simply wasting time in search of the impossible. On July 12th, 2005, I finally got my hands on a copy of NCAA Football 2006 with most of North America. By the way, I did not purchase it from CompUSA. It was GameStop for me. I've been a GameStop guy ever since Funko Land went away in Northern California. Speaking of brands that would go away, CompUSA would be soon to follow. This is arguably the last high watermark for a company that was in severe decline and only getting worse. They began closing stores in 2006 before a massive shuttering of 126 outlets the following year took place. The CompUSA brand would disappear for good in November of 2012, at least the physical store format version of it. Ironically enough though, NCAA Football 14 would be released some 8 months later before disappearing itself until recently. Let's just hope no one is planning for a CompUSA revival anytime soon. So what the hell happened here? Why did CompUSA end up releasing NCAA Football 2006 early? So there's a couple of things we need to mention. First, EA Sports was shipping out the game weeks before it was scheduled to be released. It was reported that all kinds of stores had physical copies inside their premise 2 to 3 weeks before that July 12th release date. However, it was only the computer player that ended up selling their copies early. My theory is that the release date for NCAA Football 2006 in the CompUSA inventory system was set to July 2nd and not July 12th. That is why the game was briefly listed as available on the CompUSA website that day. That is also why a few stores with employees who did not know any better put the games out on store shelves. There were only 4 places in America where it was actually confirmed that someone managed to buy a copy of the game early. These were Alabama, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, and Chicago. Everything else was probably idle internet chatter. And the actual number of folks to have won the video game lottery was in the hundreds at most. It just happened to be a few of those who did acquire the game early hopped onto the very active sports video game forums of the day and set off this wild goose chase for the video game holy grail of 2005. Quite frankly, it was also as close to CompUSA was to relevant in the mid-2000s. The number of people walking into CompUSA stores or calling them on the phone during that sort of 10-day span between July 2nd and July 12th had to have been record-breaking. It also created a huge amount of buzz for a game everyone was already dying to play. This isn't to say people weren't excited about NCAA Football 05 or any of the earlier releases, but this game, this version, it just had this hyped up, anticipated, everybody wanted to get their hands on that game, and that made the wait from July 2nd to July 12th in 2005 all the more brutal. We knew there were folks out there who got the game early and who were playing the game early. It was excruciating for the rest of us to know the game was so close, yet so far away. As far as the other chatter around people getting their hands on NCAA Football 06 early at Target, Toys R Us, whatever the case may be, it's really hard to know what was true and what was simply just the internet talk, people wanting to be the BMOI, big man on the internet. It's possible, maybe even plausible, a few others were able to acquire the game before July 12th, but it could have easily been posters just trying to stir the pot to convince knuckleheads like me that they needed to keep driving down to CompUSA because they just may have put it out. They did not though. Whatever the case may be, we are never ever going to see a game release quite like NCAA Football 06. It was completely ridiculous, and in hindsight, it was ridiculously fun. All of the buzz, all of the banter, all of the chatting, all of the hype surrounding this game made it legendary in its own right. Sure, most of us didn't get it early, and most of us wasted a lot of time driving and calling stores that were not going to release it early, but it was still something else. Going back and just reading through that old Operation Sports thread was something else too. It was very cool just to see the excitement and the buzz of this time in history. Finally, this was a very nice reminder of the joy that comes with physical media. For most of us, we're going to get the new College Football 25 downloaded right to our PS5s or our Xbox Series X directly on the release date. It's convenient, that's for damn sure, yet there is a sense we are missing something in not having to go out and get it ourselves. And hey, in 2005, if you were in the right CompUSA at the right time, it was even possible to get that something, that physical media you wanted 10 days early. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to know more about the absolutely disastrous marriage between sports and Bally's, video upper right hand corner of your screen, and to learn about the baseball stadium being built with a shopping mall inside, video lower right hand corner. Until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis, this is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.